Have you ever wondered how Jesus' fate was sealed and who was behind his condemnation? Among the central figures in this story is Caiaphas, the Jewish high priest who played a crucial role in the final days of Jesus. In a moment of great political and religious tension, Caiaphas believed he was acting for the good of his nation, but his decisions placed him at the center of one of history's greatest events. As he orchestrated the trial and condemnation of Jesus, he could not imagine that his actions would trigger a transformation that would change the world forever. In this story, we will explore Caiaphas' role, from his initial dilemma to his spiritual transformation after the rumors of Christ's resurrection. Caiaphas, the high priest of the Jews, lived in times of intense political and religious tension. Holding a position of great power, he walked the line between religious devotion and the need to appease the Romans, who controlled Judea. When Jesus of Nazareth began to attract crowds with his preaching and miracles, Caiaphas felt an increasing threat. The people saw Jesus as the promised Messiah, the one who would liberate Israel, which in Caiaphas' eyes could provoke a popular uprising and lead to the destruction of his nation at the hands of the Romans. Amidst this scenario, Caiaphas convened the Sanhedrin, the Jewish religious council, to discuss what to do with Jesus. "It is better that one man die for the people than that the whole nation be destroyed," he said, justifying the need to sacrifice Jesus to avoid possible Roman retaliation. This phrase became famous, for while Caiaphas believed he was protecting his people, his true motivations were less altruistic. He feared losing his status, power, and privileges. Thus, the high priest orchestrated the arrest of Jesus and brought him to trial, sealing the fate of one who, for many, was the Savior, unaware of the historical consequences of this act. 3 days after the crucifixion of Jesus, Caiaphas, the high priest who had been primarily responsible for his condemnation, began to live a silent torment. In the stillness of the night, he was haunted by nightmares. He dreamed of the moment he condemned Jesus to death, seeing the calm and serene face of the man he believed to be a threat, but who now appeared to him differently, as if he possessed a truth that Caiaphas had never wanted to see. Each night, the dreams grew more intense, bringing a sense of guilt that he could not shake off. As Caiaphas dealt with his sleepless nights, disturbing rumors began to circulate. The tomb of Jesus was empty. The soldiers guarding the site spoke of a supernatural apparition, angels who had rolled away the stone. Upon hearing these reports, Caiaphas was shaken. Soon after, testimonies from the disciples began to spread throughout Jerusalem. They claimed to have seen the resurrected Jesus. The high priest, once firm in his convictions, began to question whether he had made a fatal mistake. Remorse began to corrode his confidence. He started to avoid public appearances, fearing that the resurrection of Jesus could represent not only a political threat, but also a spiritual one, something far greater than he could have anticipated. After days of unrest, Caiaphas had an experience that would change his life forever. One night, while studying ancient messianic prophecies, he felt a strange presence in his chamber. When he turned around, he was astonished to see a figure enveloped in light before him. It was Jesus, the same man he had condemned to crucifixion. The eyes of Jesus, filled with compassion and serenity, penetrated deeply into Caiaphas's heart. In a gentle tone, Jesus said, "You condemned me so that I could go free. This was ordained by my Father to be the final sacrifice for the sins of all humanity." Caiaphas, completely shaken, fell to his knees, weeping at the feet of Jesus. The weight of his actions finally hit him with full force. He, the high priest, had condemned the Messiah that so many prophecies had foretold. As he rose, he realized that Jesus had vanished, leaving him alone with his thoughts and the certainty that the stories of the resurrection were true. From that moment on, Caiaphas was never the same. He began to live a life of deep reflection and regret, distancing himself from public life. What he had denied and fought against with such fervor had now become his inescapable truth. After the transformative experience of seeing the resurrected Jesus, Caiaphas found himself profoundly changed. The guilt that had once consumed him transformed into remorse, but also into a new spiritual understanding. He, who had seen himself as a defender of faith and the stability of the Jewish people, now realized that his actions had been motivated by fear and self-preservation. The condemnation of Jesus, which he believed was a necessary act to protect the nation, revealed itself to be a monumental error, and the proof was before him. Jesus had risen. Caiaphas isolated himself for weeks, avoiding the public and the Sanhedrin. Meanwhile, news of the resurrection spread throughout Jerusalem, and the new faith in Jesus Christ began to gain strength. The disciples, once fearful and in hiding, now preached boldly in the streets, witnessing to the risen Christ. Crowds gathered to hear the words of Peter, John, and other followers, and Christianity began to spread with a speed that even Caiaphas, in his position of authority, could not control. Consumed by regret, Caiaphas made the most difficult decision of his life. During the Pentecost festival, with Jerusalem filled with pilgrims, he called an extraordinary meeting of the Sanhedrin. In a surprisingly humble act, Caiaphas announced his resignation as high priest. Before all the council members, he confessed his error in condemning Jesus, acknowledging that the man he considered a threat was, in fact, the promised Messiah. With a choked voice, he declared that he was no longer worthy to lead the people of God, as he had unjustly condemned the Son of God to death. In tears, Caiaphas removed his priestly garments, leaving everyone present astonished. From that day on, he withdrew from public life, spending his remaining years in solitude, reflecting on the crucial role he played in the crucifixion of Jesus. As Caiaphas retreated, Christianity expanded rapidly, impacting the Roman Empire and beyond. Beyond biblical accounts, Caiaphas is mentioned in historical writings, offering a more concrete view of his existence and role in history. The Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, who lived in the 1st century, wrote about Caiaphas, documenting his time as high priest and his involvement in the events that culminated in the crucifixion of Jesus. Josephus mentioned the year Caiaphas ascended to the high priesthood, highlighting his role in the complex political relations between the Jews and the Romans. However, the most striking discovery about Caiaphas occurred in 1990, when archaeologists, during an excavation south of the old city of Jerusalem, found something surprising: a bone box, known as an ossuary, elegantly decorated with inscriptions in Aramaic. One of these inscriptions bore the name Joseph, son of Caiaphas, identifying the remains of a man about 60 years old, an age consistent with the time when Caiaphas would have held the position of high priest. This discovery not only provided physical evidence of Caiaphas's existence, but also confirmed his historical role in the political maneuvers that led to Jesus' condemnation. These archaeological finds are crucial for validating biblical and historical accounts, solidifying Caiaphas as a real and influential figure in the narrative of Christianity. Thus, Caiaphas's role in the final days of Jesus reveals how his decisions shaped history in ways he could never have foreseen. From a powerful leader to a figure consumed by regret, his journey is a reminder of the profound transformations that occur when we confront the truth. If you enjoyed this story and want to continue following content that explores the mysteries and curiosities of the Bible, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. This helps us bring more stories like this to you and many others. Thank you for watching, and may God's grace always be with you.